My name is Goldie, and I just turned 15. Reflecting on the past 2 years, it's astonishing to see the transformations in my life. It feels like my world has been flipped upside down not once, but twice, starting when I was just 13. That's when my parents decided to divorce, and my mom ended up keeping the house. I stayed with her, while my dad agreed to a substantial alimony payment, which I once overheard Mom boasting about on the phone, claiming she finally got what she deserved. I constantly asked my mom why she and Dad split, but her replies were vague. She would say, "Your father made his choice, Goldie," with a tone that was both stern and icy. She insisted he didn't want to be part of our lives or see me anymore, and that I should accept it. But acceptance was impossible for something so bewildering. How could my dad, who always called me his little son scientist and spent countless hours on my school projects, suddenly cut off his affection? The pain was sometimes so intense that it left me breathless. Then, every holiday, I began receiving anonymous emails filled with simple, yet heartfelt messages of love and encouragement. The first time I read one, my heart skipped a beat. They had to be from my dad. Phrases like "keep reaching for the stars, sweetheart," were his bedtime staples. I never mentioned these emails to my mom. Even his name seemed to sour her mood. Post-divorce, Mom left her job, claiming she needed time to heal, though Dad's alimony checks more than covered our expenses. She busied herself with house renovations and yoga classes, claiming she was on a journey to find herself. That's where she met Liam. Soon, talk of new beginnings and blended families filled our home, and suddenly, Liam and his children, Benjamin and Haley, were living with us. Everything changed dramatically. Mom transformed, doting on Benjamin and Haley as if they were delicate treasures, while I felt invisible at home. She spent hours on Haley's hair and cooked Benjamin's favorite dishes, often leaving me sidelined. One day, overwhelmed by neglect, I confronted her. She looked at me with a mix of pity and annoyance, explaining that Benjamin and Haley, having lost their mother as toddlers, needed more care. She urged me to be understanding, given my age. Mom's new obsession became taking family photos every weekend. She meticulously coordinated our outfits for what seemed like runway shows, often buying new clothes for Benjamin and Haley for these occasions. In these moments, dressed up and smiling for pictures, I felt more like a prop than a daughter. While I often had to pick out my old clothes that just happened to match their color theme. "Goldie, stand behind Benjamin, no, move to the left, and try to smile more naturally," Mom would instruct, adjusting her phone camera for the perfect shot. "Haley, sweetie, tilt your head just a bit, perfect." These photo sessions could last hours, with continuous clicking and posing until Mom captured the ideal image for her social media posts. Afterward, she'd eagerly show off the photos at family gatherings. "Look at how many likes this one got," she'd boast to Aunt Macy or Uncle Matthew, proclaiming, "Everyone says we look like the perfect family. Don't the kids look great together?" You'd never guess they weren't always siblings. Standing there, I felt reduced to just another accessory in Mom's meticulously crafted play, while she extolled the virtues of our beautiful blended family to anyone who would listen. The photos hid the truth. How Haley would roll her eyes when I walked into a room, or how Benjamin acted as if I was invisible. But the hardest part wasn't the forced smiles or the endless posing. It was losing contact with Grandma Jessie, my dad's mom. After the divorce, Mom had made it very clear that visiting her was off limits. I missed Grandma's warm hugs and the genuine attention she gave me, truly listening without the distraction of a smartphone. Those memories of baking cookies in her kitchen and her hearty laughter were all that I had left. Meanwhile, I was left to deal with Mom's relatives who completely bought into her perfect family narrative. They fawned over Benjamin and Haley, praising Mom for being such an incredible stepmother, while I lingered in the background, feeling more and more invisible. As time passed, the rift between Mom and me widened immensely. She was utterly engrossed with her new family, organizing everything around Benjamin and Haley's activities and preferences. Family movie nights and weekend plans revolved around what Benjamin and Haley wanted. My suggestions were overlooked, lost in the excitement of Benjamin's choice of a new superhero movie or Haley's preference for a trendy ice cream shop. One Sunday, as they prepared for another family outing, I stayed in my room. No one came to check on me or encourage me to join. I overheard Haley saying, "Good, now we don't have to pretend to include her." Mom's response was just silence. Then summer came, and with it, a big announcement that once would have thrilled me. Mom and Liam gathered everyone in the living room, buzzing with excitement. "We have amazing news," Mom announced, gripping Liam's hand. "We're planning a month-long trip to Europe." Benjamin and Haley erupted in cheers. "Can we go to Venice?" Haley squealed. Benjamin added, "They have the best soccer stadium." I watched from the couch as they celebrated like lottery winners, bouncing around with excitement. No one turned to me. No one asked if I was excited about the trip. I felt like an outsider observing a happy family on a TV show, a family I wasn't part of. On the morning of the trip, I was in my room, meticulously checking my packing list. When I glanced up, I caught Haley by my dresser, her hands busy with my favorite blue swimsuit and a pair of scissors. With deliberate snips, she cut through the fabric, a slight smirk gracing her lips. For a moment, I was frozen, shocked by the malice of her actions. I had always known Haley didn't like me. Her disdain had been clear for the last 2 years, but this act was openly hostile and cruel. Reacting instinctively, I lunged forward, trying to snatch the scissors from her grip. Haley pulled back, and suddenly we were entangled in a tussle for the scissors. Though smaller, she was unexpectedly strong. Amid our struggle, she began to scream, "Help! Goldie is attacking me." Her cries summoned a rush of footsteps thundering up the stairs. Mom and Liam burst into the room to find us disheveled and red-faced, with a torn swimsuit lying on the floor between us. "She tried to hurt me," Haley cried out, running to her dad. "I was just standing here, and she went crazy." "That's not true," I protested, breathless from the altercation. "She was cutting up my swimsuit. I was just trying to stop her." Mom barely glanced at the swimsuit on the floor. "What is wrong with you, Goldie? Are you so jealous of Haley that you'd physically attack her? Go to your room and stay there until we leave for the airport. Clearly, you can't be trusted around Haley." They left with Haley, and through my closed door, I could hear Mom comforting her. "Don't worry, sweetie. We'll go to the mall right now and buy you some new clothes to help you feel better after this awful experience." I sat on my bed, staring at the remains of my swimsuit, listening to their departure. No one asked if I needed a new swimsuit for the vacation. No one seemed to care about my side of the story. That evening, we gathered in the foyer, luggage in hand. Mom was double-checking her list while Liam loaded the bags into the waiting taxi. "I still think you don't deserve this trip after what you did to Haley," Mom said with a cold glance in my direction. "But we can't leave you home alone for a month, so you'll have to come. Just try not to cause any more problems." At the airport, the tension was palpable. We approached the check-in desk, and Mom handed over our documents. My stomach churned, perhaps from the early hour, the ongoing stress, or some unresolved feeling. "Mom," I said, shifting uncomfortably, "I need to use the bathroom." She hardly looked up as she rummaged through her purse. "Fine, but hurry up. We can't miss our flight because of you." "Should I take my bag?" I gestured to my carry-on. "Just leave it," she snapped. "I'm not having you wander off with our documents and money." I nodded and made my way to the restroom, navigating through the bustling crowd. The signs were confusing, and I had to double back twice. By the time I found the bathroom and finished, about 15 minutes had passed. But when I returned to the check-in area, my family was nowhere in sight. At first, I thought I might have mistaken the counter. "Mom," I called out, my voice rising in panic. "Liam?" People turned to look, but none of them were my family. I started running, my feet echoing on the shiny airport floor, frantically searching. Perhaps they had already gone through security. As I frantically searched the bustling airport, my heart pounded audibly. Without a phone, money, ID, or boarding pass, since Mom held all of those, I felt utterly stranded. From the check-in desk to the bathrooms, then on to the food court, I dashed, my panic intensifying with each fruitless pass. Around me, life proceeded as usual. People hugged their loved ones goodbye and pulled their luggage, immersed in their own worlds, while mine seemed to unravel. Eventually, exhaustion overcame me, and I found myself standing amid the crowd in the terminal, overwhelmed by despair. Tears burst forth, not quiet, dignified ones, but loud, heaving sobs that racked my body. "Are you all right, sweetheart?" A gentle voice cut through my sobs. I looked up to find a woman in an airport uniform, her expression lined with concern. "Where are your parents?" she asked. Choking back tears, I explained my plight in halting, breathless fragments, that my family had left for the bathroom break with all my belongings. Her expression shifted from concern to alarm as she quickly guided me to an airport staff area marked personnel only. Before I knew it, I was seated in a small office, surrounded by serious-looking security staff who peppered me with questions and made calls while examining security footage. Their faces turned grim as they watched. I overheard one of them confirm to another. They checked in, waited until she was away, then proceeded to their gate and boarded the flight. "They've already taken off. Do you have any adult relatives we could call to come get you?" one of the officers asked, his voice softening. With a shaky breath, I managed to say, "My dad. I haven't seen him in 2 years, but I know his name and where he used to work." They noted down the information, and soon, calls were being made from the next room. Wrapped in a borrowed airport blanket, I tried not to think about the plane carrying my mother and what felt like her real family, soaring across the Atlantic without me. Then, a familiar voice called out, "Goldie?" I looked up to see my dad standing in the doorway, older and more worn than I remembered, but with the same kind eyes that once scoured my bedroom for monsters and beamed with pride at my science projects. "Dad." My voice cracked, and suddenly I was running into his arms, enveloped in a hug so reminiscent of my childhood, as we both cried. "I'm so sorry, sweetheart," he murmured repeatedly. The drive to his place felt surreal. I sat in the passenger seat of his car, stealing glances at him, half afraid he'd vanish if I looked away too long. He now lived in a different part of the city, in a large apartment building I'd never seen before. "There's someone I want you to meet," he said as we ascended to the 8th floor. "My fiancée, Gemma. She's been my rock through everything." Gemma was a warm-faced woman with curly red hair who greeted me with such a compassionate look that it almost brought another wave of tears. Her presence felt comforting, a stark contrast to the cold abandonment I'd just experienced, and immediately wrapped me in a comforting embrace, as if she had known me forever. "You poor thing," she said, guiding me into the kitchen. "You must be famished. I'm going to fix you a proper meal right now, and I won't take no for an answer." As Gemma got to work in the kitchen, Dad and I settled at the kitchen table. The familiar aroma of coffee permeated the air. He still preferred it black, with just a hint of sugar. "Goldie," Dad began, his hands clasped tightly around his mug, his voice steady, yet his hands betraying a slight tremble. "It's time you knew the whole truth about what happened 2 years ago." He paused, collecting his thoughts. "I came home early from work that day. A meeting had been canceled unexpectedly. I wasn't supposed to be there." He swallowed hard before continuing. "I found your mother in our living room with Liam. They weren't just talking." My stomach tightened as the implications sank in. When I confronted them, Liam tried to intimidate me, and it escalated into a fight. Not my proudest moment. Your mother tried to intervene, and during the struggle, she was accidentally pushed and fell, hitting the coffee table. Dad's voice cracked as he recalled the scene. There was blood on her face from the impact, and her hands were all scraped up. I tried to help her, but before I could do much, she threatened me. She said if I didn't comply with her demands, she'd tell the police I had beaten her. She claimed she had the bruises to prove it and threatened that I'd end up in jail and never see you again. He looked into my eyes, his own filled with a mix of pain and regret. She demanded a divorce, the house, alimony, and that I cut off all contact with you. She was adamant that if I tried to reach out or tell you the truth, she'd follow through with her threat. The next morning, as I sat at the kitchen counter picking at my breakfast, Gemma joined me with a resolute expression. "Goldie," she said, stirring her coffee thoughtfully. "My brother Luca is a family law attorney. He's excellent, and I think he can help us." Dad, glancing up from his newspaper, looked hopeful for the first time in a while. "You think he'd take the case?" Gemma was already pulling out her phone. When I told him what happened at the airport, he was ready to come right over. He's just waiting for our go-ahead. Everything happened swiftly after that. Luca, a tall man with the same red hair and kind eyes as Gemma, but with an underlying firmness, joined us at the dining room table. He took detailed notes as I relayed my story, occasionally shifting into what Gemma referred to as his lawyer mode. He made several calls then and there, and within hours, he had filed paperwork with Child Protective Services and the guardianship authorities. The authorities took an immediate interest. Apparently, abandoning your child at an airport tends to draw rapid attention. A few days later, Dad suggested a special visit. "There's someone who's been missing you terribly," he said as we drove through familiar neighborhoods. "Someone who never stopped asking about you." When we pulled up to Grandma Jessie's house, my heart leaped. It looked just as I remembered. The yellow paint, the flower boxes under the windows, and the old porch swing where we used to sit and drink lemonade. Before we could even get to the front door, it swung open. "Goldie," Grandma cried, her voice choked with emotion. Suddenly, I found myself wrapped in one of her signature bear hugs, infused with a scent of cinnamon and fresh laundry. "Oh, my sweet girl, let me look at you," she exclaimed. We spent the afternoon leafing through old photo albums, indulging in Grandma's renowned chocolate chip cookies, and catching up on the time we'd missed. She revealed birthday cards she had written but never mailed, stashed away in a drawer with newspaper clippings of my school's honor roll listings, which she had carefully preserved. Days melded into weeks, and before I realized it, a month had slipped by. Meanwhile, Mom and her perfect new family were gallivanting across Europe, living it up, as their social media updates showed. Every day brought new images. Haley posing, Benjamin exploring, Mom and Liam enjoying romantic dinners in Venice. Yet, none of them reached out to see if I was safe, if I had a place to stay, or if I was even okay. All my belongings, including my phone and laptop, were with Mom, but that seemed of little concern to her. I would log into my social media accounts from Dad's computer and see that they were active, liking posts and commenting, clearly aware of my online presence marked by the little green next to my name. Yet, there was no sign of concern, not a single message checking in on me. Dad suggested I be there at the house when they returned. My heart pounded as I sat in the living room, hearing the taxi pull up outside. Dad was discreetly hidden in Mom's home office, waiting for the perfect moment. We could hear their voices through the door, chatting merrily about their European escapade. As the key turned in the lock and they entered, laden with shopping bags and suitcases, they stopped short at the sight of me. Mom recovered swiftly, a smug smile spreading across her face. "Look who found her way home," Liam joked, setting down their bags. "See, we told you she'd be fine." That's when Dad emerged from the office. Mom's smug smile instantly turned to shock, then fury. "What the hell are you doing in my house?" she yelled, stepping back against Liam. "Get out right now." Dad remained calm and resolute. "I'm here to tell you how this is going to go, Macy. I'm taking Goldie with me, permanently this time. I've filed for full custody and am seeking to terminate your parental rights. The paperwork's already in motion with the court." Mom's face paled, then flushed with anger. "You can't do that." Dad's tone hardened. "I can, and I have. And there's more. We're also pressing criminal charges for child endangerment and abandoning a minor at an airport, both of which carry serious jail time." Mom trembled with rage. "You think anyone will believe you after what you did to me? I still have pictures of my injuries. I'll tell everyone how you beat me." Dad's smile then was not one of joy, but of resignation. "Go ahead. My lawyer is already prepared for that old lie. But here's the thing, Macy. You didn't file a police report immediately, and now you've only tarnished your credibility. It's been a year since the unimaginable happened. My mother left me alone at an airport as she jetted off to Europe, without a penny, a phone, or any ID. The whole ordeal was captured on security cameras, from her walking away to her boarding the plane, seemingly carefree about leaving her 15-year-old daughter stranded. What kind of mother does that? My father's outrage was palpable in court, amplified by the video evidence, the police report, and the stream of posts she shared during her vacation, never once checking to see if I was safe. The trial concluded swiftly. The evidence against her was undeniable: airport footage, police statements, her own social media betrayals. The judge barely needed time to deliberate. The verdict stripped her of parental rights and halted the alimony payments my father had been making. Custody was granted solely to him, which merely formalized the reality we'd all come to accept: I would never return to live with her. As part of their sentence, both Mom and her partner, Liam, received a year of probation and a hefty fine, which drained the color from Liam's face when the judge announced it. Watching them squirm brought me no joy. Instead, I felt detached, like I was observing the resolution of a film about someone else's turmoil. 7 months later, I'm in my new room at my dad and his fiancée Gemma's place, deciding which earrings to wear to their upcoming wedding, where I'll be Gemma's bridesmaid. The ceremony's dress, a pale blue gown reminiscent of a clear summer sky, is ready and waiting. After the trial, Mom and her new family moved away quietly. My Aunt Linda, who sided with us, along with most of my mother's family, said, "Blood doesn't excuse her actions." Grandma Jessie now visits us every Sunday, bringing her beloved chocolate chip cookies and stories that tease smiles and laughter from my father and me as we create new memories. I switched schools, leaving behind the reminders of a past too painful to linger on. At Riverside High, I found genuine friends like Rachel and Kim, friends who support and understand me, even if they don't know every detail of my past. Sometimes I find myself thinking about Mom, Liam, and others from that earlier part of my life. They seem like characters from a book I read long ago, remote and vague. I've blocked them on social media, not from any resentment, but simply because I don't need to maintain that link anymore. I'm moving on, no longer just a background figure in their idealized family scenes. My dad often tells me I'm stronger than he was at my age. He might be right, or perhaps I'm just lucky to have people around me who define what a real family should be, people who are there for you, who defend you, and make sure you always feel cherished.